carry out development which they believe is capable of causing serious health hazards to the people if urgent steps are not taken to stop further pollution of the environment.
And it is possible that the governor Nyesom Wike listened to the cry of the people by taking punitive measures to avert the dangerous environment and help disaster arising from the soot.
We should get to know all the measures that he has actually taken, whether the measures are scientific, and that's because that's the only way that can be possible. The governor has declared 19 persons alleged to be the leaders of the operators of the illegal refineries in Rivers State wanted.
And Kirian, will this be one of the best ways to deal with the situation? What other punishments are available to end the environmental pollution of this magnitude? What could be responsible for the engagement of the people in the illegal refineries?
And what needs to be done to address this unhealthy development in the region? What collaboration is needed among the three tiers of government to stem the tide of the black soot? These are some of the issues we intend to raise with our guests as we discuss black soot in the Niger Delta region. This is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. I'll be second in the week. Of course, it's a new year. I've not seen you since
since 2021, right?
Since Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, welcome.
All right, thank you for joining us on the show today.
And I'm Mr. Ngadabo Usman, joining my colleague Kirian to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria. We are reaching you live, as always, on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, Africa's largest TV network, the NTA. We should have our complimentary segments in the course of the program. And for now, here is our colleague Musbah Udan Wahab with the morning news. Good morning, Musbah.
Very good morning, Yusuf and Kirian. Good to see you again. Let's take the news. Former Governor of Lagos State and Chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has formally notified President Muhammadu Buhari of his intention to run for presidential election of a platform of a governing party. Senator Tinubu made his confirmation while speaking to journalists after an audience with the president behind closed doors. This put to rest the speculations about the presidential ambition of a former Lagos State governor.
Yes, I've informed the president of my intention, but I've not informed the Nigerians yet. I'm still consulting, and I have no consulting, and I've not set a parameter of limitation to the extent of how many people will I consult.
Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo midwifed a meeting between the 36 state deputy governors and the management of the National Boundary Commission, stressing the need for regular interaction in the management of interstate boundaries.
I believe that bold, fair-minded, just and courageous patriotic leadership is required to ensure that border disputes are settled without politicization, without heightening tensions. And very often we find that where politicians play ethnic games or religious games, it merely exacerbates otherwise straightforward issues and may very frequently result in violence and death.
On bilateral matters, Nigeria and Greece have signed agreement to support economic development to address existing import-export imbalances. This was at a meeting between Nigeria and the Greek Foreign Affairs ministers.
Build on this bond between our two countries.
We consider you as a neighbor, and we consider you as a neighbor because we see the Mediterranean Sea not as a dividing border, but as a connecting bridge.
Just so you know, President Muhammadu Buhari will undertake a one-day official visit to Ogun State on Thursday, January 13, 2022, to inaugurate landmark projects executed by the state governor, Dapo Abiodun. A statement by the special advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, stated that President Buhari will inaugurate the 42-kilometer Shagamu Interchange Abeokuta Dual Carriageway, the new Kubakwe housing estate located at the Shagamu-Abeokuta interchange, and the first phase of King's Court Estate, Abeokuta, developed by the Ogun State Property and Investment Corporation. President Buhari will use the opportunity of his state visit to interact with some stakeholders, and he is expected to return to Abuja that same day. Federal government has inaugurated an inter-ministerial committee towards the realization of a Nigeria Science, Technology and Innovation Television. This followed the granting of a license for the establishment of a television by the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC. Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Ogbonaya Onu, who inaugurated the committee, is confident the science television will be a medium to be used to get Nigerians to appreciate the relevance of science, technology and innovation to nation building.
That will lead to the realization of the science, technology and innovation television station. The television programs will cover every aspect of our national life.
The Nigerian Air Force is exploring available options to produce made-in-Nigeria fighter jets by producing indigenous aircraft engineers and technicians. Commandant Air Force Institute of Training, Air Vice Marshal Muhammadu Aminu Service, while interacting with air officers and personnel of the Institute in Kaduna.
We have laid back for too long because we think we don't have any threat. We want to, as much as possible, encourage people to be innovative, to think out of the box, and begin to think of what we can do as a nation.
The National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, is reassuring that its servers are fully optimized at the highest international security levels as custodian of the most important national database for Nigeria. In a statement by the head of Corporate Communications, Kayode Adegoke, the Director General of NIMC, Aliyu Aziz, reiterates that NIMC has gone to great length to ensure the nation's database is adequately secure and protected, especially given the spate of cyber attacks on networks across the world. It says the Commission and its infrastructure are certified to the ISO Information Security Management System standard, which is revalidated annually and not on the AWS cloud platform or any public cloud, in spite of availability of the NIMC mobile app to the public for accessing via NIN on the GO. The Commission assures the public that it will continue to uphold the highest ethical standards in data security on behalf of the federal government and ensure compliance with data protection and privacy regulations. The Director General adds that the NIMC mobile ID application has no database within the app, nor does it store information in flat files. And that's a bit of the news this morning on Good Morning Nigeria. We have more for you in the course of the day, but for now, we'll take a break, after which the program will continue with Kirian and Yusuf in a moment.
COVID-19, that is the black swan of the century, has actually hit the whole world very hard, even the strongest of economies, and Nigeria was not spared. But due to the proactive stance and steps that the President has taken, we've been able to come out quickly. The President has consistently said we must invest in infrastructure. Even as we're investing in human capital, that we must invest in infrastructure, because at the end of the day, that is what will bring about a sustainable economic growth. So the President has given us our directive. He has said you must make sure you pay salaries and pay pensions, but you also make sure that the critical projects of roads, railway, airports, bridges, major infrastructure that are meant to drive the growth of the economy, that we consistently invest in them, even if we have to continue to borrow to do so.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Everybody knows the secret to good cooking is that special ingredient. The mothers know it, but does this new generation know it? Let's find out. Mothers, daughters, are you ready? Yes! Let the cooking begin.
Erisco tomato paste. Now we get home, now we get love, now we get children. With a spice the world, with a meal so great and so healthy. You know we've got your back. Oh, with Erisco, Rigico, Nagico.
Ladies and gentlemen, food is ready.
Food of love. For the yum yum for the
Erisco Rigico and Nagico tomato paste is made by Erisco Foods Limited, feeding Africans with healthy foods.
My son has always dreamt of being in the spotlight. That's why I give him Born Vita for everyday vitality that gives him the strength to pursue his dreams. Born Vita, strength to dream.
The 157-kilometer Lagos-Ibadan Railway is the first double-track standard gauge railway to be built in West Africa. The Mobolaji Johnson train station is a masterpiece, an infrastructure that is gradually becoming an iconic building in Lagos State. The modern facilities put the station on a world map of train stations. Likewise, other new train stations across the country built to world-class standards. The train and its convenience is indeed an admirable effort, with commendations from Nigerians.
This is a station that we have to commend the federal government for putting a beautiful face, empowering us in Lagos State, not only in economic and political arena.
I can say that I'm really impressed with the infrastructures in place. Kudos to the Minister of Transportations. Kudos to the federal government.
Truly, good things are coming out of Nigeria, and the federal government is deserving of all the applause.
There are certain moments in the day when I need my me time to just unwind and indulge.
Now available in 30 grams and 450 grams.
From the heart of the Federal Capital Territory
to the ancient city of Kano,
from the sprawling rooftops of Ibadan
to the bustling markets of Aba and the creeks of the Niger Delta, you really can't beat the reach.
Over the years, we have kept going, keeping you informed, educated, and entertained.
And how have we survived in the very challenging year?
Because of our pillars of support, namely the 3 tiers of government: ministries, departments, and agencies,
corporate bodies and advertisers,
religious bodies,
civil society groups,
political parties, and most importantly, you, our esteemed viewers. Together, we made 2021 great.
And together, we shall make 2022 greater.
Thank you from all of us here at NTA. Your season's greetings and a prosperous new year.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Let's get started with the business news. Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) has announced plans to launch a revised version of the 10-year capital market master plan in 2022 to reflect the dynamism of the market and developments in fintech, among others.
This is as stockbrokers expressed support for the introduction of regulatory changes on fixed income securities by the regulator. Speaking on the revised master plan, Security and Exchange Commission Director General, in a statement, said as the year 2022 commences, the Commission is confident that the results of the various initiatives implemented will begin to gradually manifest, spurring developments in many aspects of the markets. He expressed the hope that as the restrictions of COVID-19 and its variants are eased up, the market will witness renewed confidence, expected to introduce fresh investments from domestic and foreign investors. He said some of the key initiatives to be pursued in 2022 are the repeal of the Investment and Security Act 2007 and passing of the Investment and Security Bill 2021 to align the law with the realities and trends in capital market regulation and practice in Nigeria. Meanwhile, the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investments, Adeniyi Adebayo, on Monday assured manufacturers of government support to enable them get good returns on their investments. In a statement by the Special Assistant to the Minister of Media, Ifedayo Shayo, the minister said amid shortage of foreign exchange, the federal government was doing everything to assist manufacturers to access forex, particularly for the importation of machineries for those using local raw materials for their production. He maintained that the ministry would continue to assist manufacturers to remove any identified bottleneck that could impede the production process, especially with respect to the ease of doing business. With Business News, Alika Opanachi, Arua.
Well, thank you, Alika, for the business package. And next on the program is a review of today's national dailies. Newspaper review.
Well, as usual, Bayo is already in the house. You welcome Bayo.
Good morning, Yusuf.
Very good morning.
Good morning, Kirian.
Happy
New Year. We have
not Happy New Year.
The last time we saw was last year.
Exactly.
Not last year, but 2021.
And here we are. All right, now let's start this review with the Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper, above the name flag, 11 years after, Yobe lifts ban on use of motorcycles. It's on page 20. Hope not lost for Leah Sharibu's rescue, says military. That's on page 28. JAMB tells universities, police to conclude 2021 admission. That's on page 6. 90 arrested at airport for fake COVID-19 certificates. It's on page 28. Tinubu, my presidential ambition, a lifelong dream. That's the lead story on the Nation newspaper. You can read the details of that on pages 2 and 3 of the Nation newspaper. EFCC recovered 152 billion naira, as according to the EFCC chairman. It's on page 28. States to get 61.2 billion naira survival pill. Nigeria faces testy tie against Egypt in AFCON. It's on page 31. That match is bid for 5 p.m. Nigerian time. Motorists groan, that's at the bottom of the newspaper. Motorists groan over fuel scarcity in Jos. It's on page 29. Also on page 29, Zulum signs child rights bill in his state. Yeah, medical.
Okay, thank you, Kirian. Let's take a look at the Al Jazeera Nigeria. And on the front page of Al Jazeera Nigeria, we have the following stories. It begins with the main story here, the big one, which is 2023 presidency. Finally, Tinubu declares intention. And the writers are, a kingmaker can also be king, says Tinubu himself. And then says, I have told the president, consultations continue. That the second writer. The third one is declines comment on Shubanjo, Bello's ambition. And finally, the last writer there is, I'm not Tinubu's driver, says a senatorial aspirant. Details of all this can be gotten on page 7. Moving down a little, DSS, police seal National Assembly complex over union protest. DSS, police seal National Assembly complex over union protest. Moving down a little, 127 Nigerians killed in South Africa since 2019, says NITCOM. 127 Nigerians killed in South Africa since 2019, according to NITCOM. At the foot of the page, there are 4 stories, one of which is on page 12. It says, UK to celebrate Queen's 70 years reign. And on page 26, Dangote, Lafarge, Boer to subsidize cement price. And on page 26 still, capital importation drops by 1.68 trillion naira, says the Central Bank of Nigeria. And finally, on page 31, why unending killings in Zamfara? That's a big question there. That's a special report. Deba?
Thank you, Yusuf. Let's start with the story that is dominating the papers. The national leader of the All Progressive Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, visited President Muhammadu Buhari yesterday and informed him about his intention to contest for the presidency in 2023. He told State House press team that contesting the presidency has been a lifelong ambition, adding that with his antecedents in Lagos, he has the capacity to turn things around in the country. In a related development, a coalition of 57 national youth and student groups also declared in the communique yesterday their support for Vice President Yemi Osinbajo as successor to President Muhammadu Buhari in 2023. The coordinator, Festus Ofume, says that Professor Osinbajo's intellectual accomplishment, empathy for young generation, his understanding of the economy, coupled with being acting president and vice president, can consolidate on the challenges of the last 7 years. And in Lagos, Dr. Obafemi Hamza says that the problem in our nation is not only about that of leadership, but also that of the family that has broken up. The Deputy Governor of Lagos State, who spoke during an inauguration of a central mosque in Lagos Island, stressed there is a lack of personal responsibility in the country. Many people have left their responsibility, and that is having a negative effect on society and the country at large. Dr. Obafemi Hamzat called on all citizens, irrespective of their religion, to take personal responsibility seriously and play their roles as effectively as possible. Leadership, he says, starts from the home and the bedrock of our society. Meanwhile, criminality has come on the upswing again, where criminal elements suspected to be members of the Eastern Security Network set 2 vehicles ablaze at Ekolobia and Dilo in Anambra State. They were said to be enforcing a sit-home order of the proscribed separatist group. The occupants of the vehicles had actually set out and were returning to their bases from the Yuletide period they went home for. They set out very early in the morning, but the criminals ordered all the occupants of the vehicle to disembark, and they set the 2 vehicles ablaze. Spokesman for the Anambra Police Command says that the Commissioner of Police has ordered reinforcement patrol at Onitsha, Newi, Ihiala, Aguta, and Oka. Also, the blueprint reports that there was helter-skelter running of persons and sporadic shooting that was heard around Gariki Market in Enugu. Traders quickly had to shut shop, running away as marksmen set some vehicles ablaze in the name of forcing sit-home order. Still talking about criminality, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has given a list of its recoveries between January and December 2021. Among the sums they recovered are 152 billion naira, $386 million, 1.182 million pounds sterling, and 156,246 euro, as well as 1.725 million Saudi riyals. The agency also recovered digital currencies totaling in Bitcoin as well as Ethereum. The FCC in 2021 says that it recovered 2,220 convictions across commands in the nation. So the FCC have been up and doing. The National Universities Commission, NUC, says universities should be excluded from the federal government circular on employment due to shortage of lecturers. The Deputy Executive Secretary Administration, National University Commission, Nigerian universities. The bulletin indicates that there are 200 universities in Nigeria, 48 of them belong to the federal government, 54 to state government, and 99 are privately owned. He says the entire system has about 2.1 million students, and the staff strength is about 170,000 non-academic staff and 100,000 the teaching staff. So by way of ratio, you have a ratio of 1 to 21 for the population of the students to that of the lecturers. Yeah. So therefore, there is need for the universities to be excluded from the federal government prohibition or embargo on employment so that they can actually catch up.
But really, Bayo, when you look at these statistics, it's a little bit startling, and then it becomes a source of concern, given the way the educational system is being run in this country, and looking at how ASU have been trying to, push forward to the front burner issues in the universities and how this should be tackled.
Yeah, it shows that there are even more non-academic staff than the academic staff. It's 170,000 non-academic staff. Of course, this includes all those who help to work in the laboratories and the research support and all the other personnel in the administration. But there's no gainsaying the facts. That is why most often than not you have lecturers visiting lecturers at universities to fill in the void of the shortages.
And
the Super Eagles are
supposed to take on... Even when you look at the ratio, looking at the private universities and the public-owned universities, the ratio is going to be higher in the public-owned university than in the private-owned university, because they seem to be a little bit, getting to standards than the ones in the private, the public institutions.
The standards in the federal universities and to a larger extent the state universities are very, very stringent and very and NUC enforces them. But with the private universities, many of them actually depend on lecturers they pinch from the federal and state universities. There's been a dearth of lecturers, particularly. So, commensurably, if you look at the proportion of the university to the lecturers available in the academic environment, it is low. And don't also forget that the National Universities Commission came up with a standard that says that only persons with PhD, a doctorate degree, are qualified to be lecturers in the universities.
This is part of the problem. That's part of the problem, because everybody must not back PhD to be a lecturer. Anybody with a master's degree in his discipline can lecture. These are the, some of the, I don't want to call it the laws or some of the, there are other countries of this world. It's not just Nigeria, There are other countries of this world where people lecture. You must not back PhD. I'm not saying it's not important to have PhD to lecture anyways, But in this circumstance, for instance, is it better to lack lecturers as it is at the moment? Because if you lack lecturers, that will impact negatively on the students that you churn out on a yearly basis.
In our days, they were what we refer to as graduate assistants.
Exactly.
Those fresh graduates from university.
Who are intelligent, people with 2-1, who with first class.
And I have the little experience abroad, where you have a lecturer who has only a first degree, but he has spent all his life in the university system, and he lectures in the university in the United Kingdom and abroad. Eddie, our Super Eagles are due to take on the
I know you're itching to bring up that story.
Yes,
it's today.
Super Eagles, no shaking. In fact, my advice to them is that take the Pharaohs to the Red Sea and they will see their Waterloo. Exactly. Anyway, yesterday, the Lions of Morocco beat Ghana, right? Ghana 1-0. And one interesting match there was also Senegal that struggled with Zimbabwe. It was 9 minute extra time penalty, which Senegal eventually was able to win.
And one of the debutants, Comoros.
Yes, Comoros also played. Pulled his weight and eventually lost 1-0.
Well, Bayo, time is not our friend at this moment. We'd like to thank you for your analysis. We hope to see you again tomorrow for more on Newspaper Review. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Have a great day. And you are watching Good Morning Nigeria, broadcast live on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we shall be dealing with what is referred to as black soot in the Niger Delta region. Do stay with us.
The ever-busy ancient city of Onitsha is a commercial hub with millions of commuters seamlessly linking other states daily for business, leisure, and other purposes. To upscale its road network, The construction of a 1.6-kilometer long second Niger bridge, including a 10.3-kilometer highway furnished with other infrastructure, has been in motion by the federal government. This project will ease congestion on the existing 56-year-old Onitsha bridge and boost the economic capacity of the state as it easily connects to other parts of the country. The completion of the world-class second Niger Bridge Onitsha will be one of the many proud moments of the state, its people, Nigerians, and foreign investors. Onitsha, which hosts the largest market in Africa, is geared up to boast of an impressive road network. Once again, these moments are made alive by the federal government, and it is deserving of all the applause.
The center is purposely established in order to provide these services that are examinations, medical examinations, and investigations that were not provided for in Kano as well as the entire Northwest region. It's equipped with modern technological equipment in terms of radiological services. We have MRI 1.5 Tesla. We have digital X-ray as well as 4D ultrasound equipment. The importance of the center cannot be overemphasized. Just within 1 year, the center attended to thousands and numerous patients as well as medical examinations. NKDC is established in order also to provide these healthcare facilities at a discounted price.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Arise, O Nigerians! Let's applaud the courage of Flight Lieutenant Abayomi Dairo, aka the Aggressor, for his skillful and dogged escape from the bloodthirsty bandits in the forest of Zamfara State. 3 hearty cheers also to all military and security personnel who are tirelessly protecting fellow Nigerians from insurgency and banditry while maintaining peace and order. Nigerians are proud of Abayomi Dairo and all our gallant men and women in uniform for sacrificing so much to keep us safe. We admire your courage and we say thank you. God bless the armed forces. God bless Nigeria. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Now, the issue of black soot has been of concern to Nigerians, especially residents of Niger Delta region, in view of its implications. Ikene Ndilwe reports on efforts being made to address this issue as we discuss this very topic this morning.
The city of Port Harcourt, capital of Rivers State, is popularly known as the Garden City because of its green and open spaces with well-planned layouts and clean air. But the clean air is gone now, and in its place is a dark cloud hanging over the city. This dark and hazy cloud, known as black soot, is a clear case of air pollution that has been of constant threat to residents of the city in the past few years. It has indeed become a clear and present danger, such that one cannot walk the streets of Port Harcourt without one's clothes and body being covered in black soot. The environmental challenge arising from this cannot be overemphasized. Aside from common effects of air pollution, which include irritation to the eyes, nose, and throat, black soot has been associated with infections such as asthma, pneumonia, coronary heart diseases, and other respiratory illnesses. And this hazardous soot that slowly took over the once fresh air of the Garden City has been linked to human activities. The chief culprits being the bunkerers and vandals who engage in operation of illegal oil refineries in Rivers State and much of the Niger Delta region. To tackle the soot pandemic in the city, Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State in his New Year message declared 19 persons wanted for operating illegal crude oil refining sites responsible for the soot in the city.
We have also identified those behind illegal bunkering activities in Okrika communities, Port Harcourt Township, River Southeast, and River Southwest Electoral Districts, and their names will be soon published and declared wanted if they fail to voluntarily report to the police.
Before this declaration, several NGOs, individuals, and experts have been involved in awareness campaigns for government's intervention, although this has yielded little or no result. On this edition of Good Morning Nigeria, experts will be speaking on the impacts of the black soot and the way forward.
And joining us this morning to discuss the topic, we have here in our studio Professor Ali Jaro, Director General, National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, Nigeria. It's good to have you join us this morning, sir.
Good morning, Nigerians.
And also here in our studio is Idris Musa, Director General, National Oil Spill and Detection Response Agency, NOSDRA. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
And also in our studio right here, we have Professor Hilary Ian, Professor of Environmental Engineering and Science. He is also the Director, Global Institute of Energy and Environmental Systems of the Caroline Charlotte in the United States of America. Prof, good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much, Nigerians. Once again, good morning.
All right.
Well, gentlemen, it's good to have you join us once again, and we are dealing with an environmental hazard, something that one could say is new in the Nigerian environment, and it will be important for Nigerians to, first of all, understand what this means and what it is all about. And let's go to Professor Ali Jaro, who's the DG of National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, Nigeria. So, what is black soot, and what is it all about?
Black soot is a substance which is produced as a result of incomplete combustion of carbon. So this soot can be found even in our households where we use sources of fuels. For those that use domestic firewood, it's due to the incomplete combustion, it will generate the black soot. So given the point of discussion of the Port Harcourt soot, so this soot is generated as a result of incomplete combustion of fossil fuel, specifically the crude oil, and also we have other things like the roasting of meat that is specifically for more. So it generates this black soot. So it's as a result of incomplete combustion, and this black soot constitutes carbon and other environmental pollutants emanating from the source of this soot.
Professor Hilary.
Thank you.
Black soot.
Black soot, as my good colleague has just explained, is a result of incomplete combustion, as he's just explained. But I'll go into just slight more detail so that you can profess some solutions.
That's why we came to you.
Yes, thank you. Hydrocarbons, as you know them, the petroleum, is made up of carbon and primarily carbon and hydrogen. So when you have some combustion of it, as you would have in regular refineries that are well designed.
Complete combustion.
Complete combustion.
Right.
That will let the carbon burn to form carbon dioxide. That's what is supposed to happen. Okay. And then the hydrogen combines with oxygen in air to form water.
Okay.
But that's complete combustion in a well-designed refinery. In one of these refineries that ramshackle refineries in the Niger Delta, what happens is that the carbon is not completely burnt.
Right.
So what results are some flakes of carbon that coagulate and then get into the air. And then that is accompanied by carbon monoxide, which you know to be very poisonous to folks who inhale them. And then many other contaminants, because petroleum is one of the most complex substances. It has so many different kinds of substances, some of which are very cancerous. So the danger to the public is that you are inhaling in and not exhaling everything out. So much of that will stay in your bloodstream, and then over time, obviously, there will be a lot of ailments, some of which will be cancer, and then there's the problem of attribution of those ailments to what had happened earlier on as breathing.
We'll talk about the effects really much later in the program. Let's hear from Idris Musa. They're talking about incomplete combustion of carbon in Niger Delta. And when we look at other areas too, we have burning of tires, we have cooking, we have other activities that bring about this black soot all over the place, not only in Niger Delta.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria. We have had definitions of the black soot from the two professors, and they have given more details into how the soot come about. But then, the worry that we have, which is very worrisome to Nigerians, and in recent times, the governor of Rivers State, one of the states in the Niger Delta, where this is very predominant, is how this incomplete combustion of the hydrocarbon have affected human beings. And how does this happen? We look at the spatial distribution of it, and that is what really comes to play when we are now having issues. A number of times people have said, yes, the black soot is as a result of the roasting of cow skin, burning of tires, but the question is, how many cows are slaughtered daily in Rivers State, not even say Port Harcourt? How many cows and how many of such cow skins are roasted? How many tires are burnt? The question is the hydrocarbon that is stolen from pipelines of oil companies and then burnt in the, cooked, I will call it quote and unquote, cooked in the night. And in the course of this, of course, it's not done in the daytime, it's done in the night. Of course, temperature is down, very low temperature at night. When they do this cooking, the smoke is suspended, and it dominates the air. If you live in Port Harcourt or you visit Port Harcourt, you will see in the early morning, up to this time, the sky looks so cloudy as if it's going to rain. It's not going to rain. That is the suspension of the cooking of crude in the night. And what you have is, as soon as the temperature begins to rise, the hydrocarbon, the smoke, the soot that has been suspended in the air begins to come down. And then you now see people, oh, my floor is filled with soot, my tables, my clothes, everything. This is how this happens. And of course, the inhaling of this black soot, of course, affects people in different ways, depending on your body chemistry. Some people, yes, they say it's cancerous. The cancer can be in many forms. I remember I lived in Port Harcourt for 2 years, consecutive 2 years, in the course of one of the operations I had to engage in. And the way it affected me was in my own eyes. You talk and you begin to see water coming out of your eyes. In some people, it's coughing. In some people, it could be in many forms. So it's very worrisome, and we are happy that at least one of the states in the Niger Delta is rising up to this. But don't forget that before this incident, the Nigerian federal government has been doing a lot of work on this artisanal refining by way of what the Nigerian Navy has done several times. But now that a state is now lending support, I'm sure we are beginning to have an answer to this problem that has bedeviled us for so long.
Okay, Professor Jaro, The history of cooking of oil, according to Idris Musa, or illegal refining of crude oil, it's been there for decades. Why is it now that the Niger Delta region is beginning to experience this soot? Is it as a result of accumulation of this, or what? Because we have not heard about this soot in recent times, but of course we've always lived with illegal refining of crude oil in that part of the country.
Well, I think the reason why it is more prevalent now, a lot of youth there have engaged in this illegal refining. Even before 2016, there were cases of black soot, but it's not very, very obvious. So, but in December 2016, residents of Port Harcourt, they woke up one day and the whole city was covered in black soot. And this one, the incidents continue to get accumulated, and the air quality became so much impacted. There was a time the air quality of Port Harcourt was ranked as the poorest in the world, even worse than that of Beijing, China, and even that of Delhi. So it has been there for a very long time, and a lot of youth now are going into this issue of illegal refining. And as I've mentioned, there are also other sources, even though the DG of Nostra mentioned that they are not so much. For instance, the roasting of meat. We also have some asphalt plants, also they burn asphalt, the impact on the environment, and other industries around. So all this contribute one way or the other, but as you have mentioned, the major culprits are those bunkers and operators of these illegal refineries.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Jauro. Professor Hilary Young, you were in the Niger Delta recently, and then you must have really, seen these things we're talking about. Idris Musa said at a point in time, you just woke up in the morning, you feel as if it's going to rain, but it's not going to rain because it's not cloud anyway. The black soot covering the horizon anyway. And then Professor Jauro said at a point in time, Port Harcourt had the lowest air, quality in the world, even less than that of China, Beijing, China, which is more of a much more industrialized, city than Port Harcourt. Now, out of your experience and the recent visit and what you've seen, how too bad is the situation to such an extent that the state government has now come in and started slamming down some measures, putting in force some task force and a lot of other measures? How too bad is it?
Yes. Well, the scale has to be looked at regional level. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, it is not just the problem of soot, it's a problem also of gas flaring. There is that combination of gas flaring and soot effects. I mentioned earlier on that the soot is a product of incomplete combustion, but there is some combustion also from flaring that produces sulfur dioxide and also produces carbon dioxide. Anybody who has done basic chemistry knows that if you combine sulfur dioxide with water, as the fumes will go up during flaring, what results is sulfuric acid. If you combine carbon dioxide with water, as is the case when that gas goes up, what you have is carbonic acid. So they come back onto the Niger Delta and some parts of Equatorial Guinea as acid rain. This is why if you look at the zinc of roofs of houses from Benin all the way to Port Harcourt, you see that they are corroded and they tend to be black. That is because of acid rain. And it's not limited to that. It also affects vegetation, because you don't wash your vegetables, before you take them to the market. When you have those agriculturalists do that, farmers, and even if you did, hydrocarbons are mostly insoluble in water, so they won't wash off. So you asked me, what is the extent of this? Yes, you have the respiratory problems of people inhaling and then not exhaling everything. You, as you sit in this room, will inhale whatever is in here at the rate of 1.5 cubic meters per minute. So supposing you have a high concentration of this soot in it, it's an easy thing to calculate how much of these particulates will be retained within your lungs over that period, the intake. And as my friend just mentioned, Mr. Mufsa, the head of NOSDRA, the response depends on the makeup of the individual. There will be two types of responses. There is the immediate response, okay? Ailments, like sneezing, all of those things, like what happened to him. But then more worrisome is the chronic response, the responses that come many years after the exposure, because those are tied with many other things. So you have the problem of attribution, knowing what was responsible for it. Certainly it's going to be part of it, but the question is, what is the contribution? That is the problem. It is very serious in the Niger Delta, particularly Port Harcourt, where you have proximity to the sources of those incomplete combustion refineries. I have seen it there in much the same way as they are in very few other places. Angola, Russia, is a city called Nizhny Tufts that I did some work in, and some parts of China.
All right, let's return to Idris Musa. From the conversation so far, we've come to terms with the causative factors responsible for the black soot. But gas flaring is one aspect that I'd like you to talk about here, because according to Professor Hilary Inyang, that's also a contributory factor, because it produces sulfur dioxide, according to him, which may result to carbon dioxide and what have you. And gas flaring has been almost as old as oil and gas industry in Nigeria. In terms of response, which of course is also under your portfolio, what should be the immediate response at this moment? Because of course the black soot has gotten to a stage where concerns are being raised. What can be done in the first instance, as a part of a first bit of response to what is happening in Niger Delta this time around?
Thank you very much. The issue of gas flaring is as old as the oil, is as old as oil production in Nigeria, as a matter of fact. And over time, there had been a number of policy guidelines put out there to check gas flaring by oil industry operators. And I recall at a point in time, the oil industry operators promised to stop gas flaring by year 2008. This is year 2022. We are still talking about gas flaring. Something happened somewhere. And I think with the new rejig that we have, the oil companies will now be in a position to address and fiscally their gas flare down program, which along the line was jettisoned. And of course, the Federal Minister of Environment, under the leadership of our minister, is taking a very good look at this. Starting from this year, this first quarter, the oil companies will have to be presenting what they have done in terms of flaring down program, as well as in aggregate what Nigeria's nationally determined contribution to these gas flare issues and global warming is going to be, because we have to keep track of this, our own contribution in a way. And of course, the major part of it is this gas flaring, and of course, the Federal Minister of Environment focusing on this aspect in line with what we have in our own agency, the gas flare tracker, which we have developed for some time. We'll be able to meet the oil companies and then challenge whatever gas flare down they have. We'll look at our own figure and compare with what they have. And then with this, we'll be able to monitor them more closely. So this is one of the areas that the federal government is really, actually placing a lot of premium to reduce the gas flare in line with what we have pledged among the other Committee of Nations.
But, yeah, I mean, from what you have said, it does appear that not much effort, have been put in place, to checkmate this issue of gas flaring. Because what you have just said, is indicative of the fact that moves had been made in the past. You said, by 2008, it was expected that should be reduced, if not drastically, drastically reduced, if not stopped in the first instance. But these oil companies operate in Nigeria for several years. Does it mean that there's nothing that Nigeria can do to channel the gas that's being flared to gas production? Because we have known to be more of a gas nation than even a fuel nation. And today, of course, we know the cost of gas, in Nigeria. So why flare it? Why has it lasted so long?
Okay, let me give you a solution to that. Actually, when we talk of gas flaring and the gas flare down program that I mentioned to you, when you flare down gas, it's not as if you are just going to drop it. You are going to utilize the gas. And under gas utilization, there are processes that you have to pass through. One, you can flare down and then utilize the gas by way of having the natural gas, which we can export. We have liquefied petroleum gas, and we can also utilize part of the gas to generate power. All these programs require a lot of investment. And of course, you will see that in the last few months, the federal government has really come up with programs on gas utilization. You had the Minister of State for Petroleum sometime in the past mention things relating to having to increase our volume of production in terms of liquefied petroleum gas. You also have possibility of having compressed natural gas, which you can utilize in some of our vehicles. Instead of having to depend on the PMS, premium motor spirit, we can also have compressed natural gas used as alternative to what we have as PMS. And all of this put together will be a lot of program in terms of utilization of the gas that we flare. And this one requires a lot of investment. And of course, efforts are being made to attract investment into this compressed natural gas, liquefied petroleum gas, and also the natural gas that we have in our capacity to export. So these are some of the areas that we have to focus on. So the ability is now to get the investors to invest in this particular aspect, and it takes a lot of funding to do so.
Well, thank you so much. Idris Musa, Director General, National Oil Spill and Detection Response Agency. Professor Hillary, you are a professor for environmental engineering and science, and of course, given the explanation he just made about gas flaring, we are not the only country producing oil. That's undoubtedly a fact. And of course, even in Africa, we have Angola, Mozambique, and some other countries out there. And they are not, a sort of out of this problem.
Yes.
Something could be said of other countries outside Africa, Middle East, Russia, and the rest of them.
Yes.
From your own studies and from your own research, how have other countries treated this issue of gas flaring with a cost-effective means, so much so that we could see Nigeria moving towards that direction?
Yes. The difference is that, oil was discovered in Nigeria, Aloibri, 1958, thereabouts. And at that time, technological developments in the area of gas flaring technology were still at infancy. So these other African countries that have found oil more recently, Libya, as you've mentioned, those other ones, in configuring their technologies for oil and gas exploitation, they built in technologies for gas, stopping gas flaring, for gas utilization. Nigeria didn't have that advantage in the early stages. Yes, in the early stages. But unfortunately, much should have been done earlier than now. Let's get that as a fact. It does require a lot of investment in Nigeria. The gas infrastructure, gas utilization infrastructure, there's got to be pipelines from the Niger Delta up north, right, for gas distribution. There's got to be a lot of technology. The public sector alone cannot do it, as my brother has just mentioned. So there's got to be doubling of invitations to, in fact, at the continental basis. The African Development Bank, the World Bank, and there are programs these days that support energy technologies that are sustainable. There should be no excuse at all to continue to flare gas at the level that Nigeria does.
Okay.
At some point, I think 2 years ago, when I checked, Nigeria was the second only to Russia.
In gas flaring.
In gas flaring. So the risk is that as you get the Nigerian population to keep increasing and many more people moving towards the coast, because that's the global trend, the exposure of individuals in terms of the number as a fraction of the national population will continue to increase, resulting in heavier health risk burden to the country. So it cannot only be justified on the basis of energy resources, but on the basis of aversion of health disasters, especially those that are respiratory.
Now, you said something very pertinent here with respect to the some other countries who have just discovered oil, that they factored in a technology that, of course, does not allow for gas flaring. In our own case, these technologies perhaps may not be modern, but they could be updated to do this, because the most important thing is this: gas flaring is stoppable.
Yes.
Reducible.
It can be
reducible.
Yes.
Why? So, I want to bring in the Professor Jaro here. Still on that. There are reports that River State government, in its effort to trace actually the source of the recent black soot in River State, they discovered a foreign company, located in Port Harcourt, from where the black soot emanated. Perhaps, maybe it's more of a contributory factor, and in that case, is the country doing enough to regulate production of hazards like this? Because in the course of production, the hazards are always there. What is your office doing to ensure that some of these companies operating in the oil and gas sector are checkmated to know the excesses in terms of these hazards we're talking about this morning?
NESRIA, as an agency that is saddled with looking at issues to do with environment, all encompassing, but the issue of oil gas is with the NOSDRA, that is National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency. So for all other companies that engage in other processes and the impact on the environment, we have set of regulations for various sectors, and we go out to monitor and ensure that they comply. Those that refuse to comply, we sanction them by sealing the facilities, and we take some of them to a competent court of law. Last year, we undertook this exercise nationwide, and we still get into 100 facilities that refuse to comply. But when it comes to oil and gas sector, it's not within the purview of the agency. Even though when we talk about environmental issues, they are cross-cutting. For instance, we are talking about the black soot. So the soot impacts on the air quality. So necessarily as an agency, we have the mandate to ensure that we have a very good quality air for us to breathe and for also the good of the ecosystem. So we always work hand in hand with NOSTRA, other stakeholders to ensure that we safeguard the whole environment. For instance, there was a time NESRIA convened a stakeholders forum, including all relevant stakeholders, the River State, NOSTRA, and even security agencies, to look at the issue of the Port Harcourt soot. That was in 2018. So we deliberated at length, and we came up with some short-term and long-term solutions. So the difficulty is implementation. So we need...
Before we go into the implementation, what are these solutions then you came up with, short and long term?
One of the major solutions is to go on compliance, monitoring, and enforcement. And you know, when you talk about compliance monitoring, especially in the Niger Delta, security is a challenge. Most of these illegal refineries, they operate in the creeks, where it's very difficult for an agency like NOSTRA and NESRIA to just access. So we need to have a strong collaboration with the security agencies, specifically the military. And secondly, we have to look at the way we destroy some of these illegal refineries. Most of the times, they will just go, the security agencies, they will set the place in fire. So when you do that, you are compounding the problem. When it burns, it impacts much more on the environment. You generate more soot. Likewise, there is need for us to look at how to recycle some of these crude oils when they are recovered. Instead of destroying it, should be recycled or put into use. And also we have other challenges, as I've mentioned. There are some agencies, when they confiscate some contraband, they're in the habit of burning. Burning is prohibited. When you burn, you add up to the problem. So these are some of the short-term measures. Some of the long-term measures include collaboration with all relevant stakeholders to discuss and find the way out. There is issue of also the modular refineries, that some of these illegal refineries, they should come together and be licensed, even though some of these things may not cover the issue of this black soot, because I don't believe the illegal refineries, the modular refineries will have the requisite technology to refine the oil to the level that it will reduce the impact of the environment. Because one of the major problems of the illegal refineries, as mentioned by Dr. Musa, that they cook the crude oil. So when it is cooked, it's not properly refined. If you go to a normal refinery, you see different sections where all the impurities can be reduced to a various minimum before you get the different fractions, you get the PMS, you get the kerosene, and even the remaining waste so-called product is put into use. That is what we use in making rods, that is the tar and other things. But I don't think if we have some of these modular refineries, they will have most of these sections, but still it's better than cooking, just ordinary cooking of the oil.
Oh, it seems we still have a long way to go in this regard, talking about some other practices even by government agencies and functionaries too. When you mentioned, you know, confiscation of contrabands and then being burned really publicly and then the public glare, and then with some fanfare, really. I don't know, Professor Hillary, how would you react to this kind of, action vis-a-vis your research and experience across the world and how these things are being treated? We're trying to see how we can try as much as possible to bring down the issue of, black soot and then some other air pollutants down to the barest minimum so that people don't get so much, affected.
Yes. There are generally 7 methodologies or mechanisms for controlling risk from any environmental problem, be it the issue of the soot or pollution, solid waste, and so forth. And I will enumerate them. I will not go into detail because of the brevity. The first one is regulatory control. Number 1, regulatory control. The second one is policy systems for managing that, because regulatory control, they are written in legal language and won't do much unless you translate to policy. It's a policy that is really implemented. Then the third is technical guidance systems. So if you come to the United States, you will see a very large technical guidance systems program that sort of support the implementation of activities, because most of these in most cases, the technology is so innovative and new, so they would not have been in textbooks that take 5 years to write and 5 years to disseminate the information in there by teaching, right? So you need to have a national system of technical guidance systems. The fourth is monitoring systems, which essentially is what these 2 agencies led by my colleagues here are set up to operate, because you have to have a national system at various scales. Maybe the states monitored, local governments where they are, and then at the national level. Then the next one is market incentives. In other words, methodologies can not only be punitive, they could be incentives for people to desist from burning those. Maybe a system by which they can establish their modular refineries under some regulatory regime and monitoring regime and incentives and requirements for them to attend. If Nigeria's bigger refineries cannot produce as much refined products to serve the country, maybe they could supplement, but under a regulatory regime. Then the next one is research. Where are you going to get the data for planning and implementation if the Nigerian research enterprise is broken down, as it is now? And I can say that as an authority, I'm the primary author of Nigeria's National Science, Technology, and Innovative Roadmap.
Okay.
So I know the system very well. You've got to have that. You talk about how we are going to stop those people from burning. Do we know the directions where the wind blows from to bring those things onto populated places? Have we done the national mapping? Do we have a biennial Nigerian national environmental monitoring system that would immediately provide opportunities for identification of risk factors and where they are? Which villages are threatened? Which sections of Port Harcourt are threatened? So that's it. And then the other one, the final one, of course, is enforcement.
Right.
Any country that does the 7 has a complete system for risk management in the environmental arena, and that applies at larger scales as it does to the Port Harcourt situation with the soot.
When you talk about the enforcement here, that could be the bane of the problem, especially in this country. How would you assess, our enforcement capacities, especially in trying to curtail these malpractices, if I may use the word?
People have to be taken to court, but the realization is that legal processes tend to be long. And in a country like Nigeria, with the caseload being so high, you have to have special courts, environmental courts. You are doing that with traffic courts. I see people being stopped and then judgment is delivered within a few minutes for their violations. It may not be so feasible in the environmental arena, but something could approach that Maybe there needs to be a natural resource stroke environmental court where cases are adjudicated very quickly. So, and because there are many, and because of the risk factors, the expediency of it. So that needs to be done. The director of NESRA has mentioned something very critical. Because a lot of these refineries, these unauthorized ones, are associated with criminality. So it would be unwise to get a regular agency to go and police them in the Niger Delta. There's got to be security arrangements because you can add on to that kidnapping and all these other things. Right, so the regime for enforcement under these circumstances is a little different. You have legal processes and you have to have expediency in the court management system that is devoted to this, and then you got to have security in the enforcement and apprehension processes to go to those sites and possibly destroy them, and then get the people to pay for their crimes. These are environmental crimes, basically.
Well, I think that from our conversation this morning, it's very clear, that what may have exacerbated, the spread of the black soot is that of the activities of illegal mining, illegal refining. And from what you've just said, Prof, that Nigeria's big refineries perhaps do not refine sufficient, fuel to go around in the country. And these elements, who are involved in illegal refining are also trying to fill the gap, and making money out of it, But I want to ask Idris Musa, Director General of National Oil Spill and the Detection Response Agency, this question with respect to what can be done presently. Now, the black soot is there. Is there any methodology that could be deployed to see how what is already in circulation could be reduced, whether it is scientific or whatever means, that a human being can use to see how it can perhaps reduce the level of, the environmental pollution that is being presently experienced in Rivers State?
Well, thank you very much again. I'll come into that. But again, let me just say, if you want to solve a problem, you must know the source of the problem. If you don't stop the source, whatever you do will just be a wasting of time. And the problem has been identified, or the major part of the problem has been identified, which is illegal refining. What can be done to stop it? You cannot go to the air and then remove the soot that is already gathered there. It will have to take time to come down, but you can prevent further soot being put in place. And I must give credit to the Nigerian Navy. Yes, my colleague mentioned about how unsafe it is to go into the creeks. Indeed, it is very unsafe. But the Nigerian Navy has done a lot in putting an end to this illegal refining, or artisanal refining, if you want to refine it, sort of. What has happened really is that in the early part, what they did was to dismantle the whole place, and then in the course of such, there could be fire. And when we saw that what is being done is what we can call, in planning, wicked problem. In the act of solving the problem, you create another one. You try to remove artisanal refining, and burning will create another problem, which is the soot, and then atmospheric pollution. So what was done is, over time, we had a lot of engagement with the Nigerian Navy. There is a committee, standing committee, for that matter, that comprises a number of agencies, including the NUPRC, NESTRA, ourselves, and a lot of others, regulatory agencies and security operatives. And what we have is to put in place what we call harmonized standard operating procedure in going into this, in attacking this artisanal refining. When you get there, when you disengage them, what do we do with whatever we meet on ground? So there are identified identified operators who can take the recovered crude as well as the recovered automotive gas oil that they produce in the course of cooking, and then process and then forward. Of course, again, in liaison with the Office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, there is a further collaboration in what to do with all those seized products and so on and so forth. So there are efforts being put in place in terms of that. But again, what do we do next? There is another committee which is under the purview of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Itainan. We have had engagement with some of these people who engage in this arsenal refining in the past. And then there was even a stakeholder summit sometime last year in Sheraton Hotel, whereby they came to the people, some of them were brought in to discuss what is the way forward. How do we solve this problem? Again, we need to solve the problem because you dismantle here, they go somewhere else to set up. You dismantle, they go somewhere. But let's put a stop to it. Yes, agree that we need a lot of petroleum products in Nigeria, AGO, DPK, PMS, yes. But what contribution can these people make to it? If we gather them and refine them, or what we call in the other climb, de-radicalize them. Let them see reason. You can do this. We have had issues of modular refinery being put in place. But again, I can tell you, in the course of having this interaction with the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President of Niger Delta Affairs, there have been some of these government agencies, for instance, NOSDRA, Naseni, Ahmadu Bello University, Federal University of Petroleum Research in Efrum, put heads together. The materials that these people use can be put together, and we introduce what we call local content. After all, nobody is going to give you technology.
Yeah, but, no, I'm not stopping you.
Yes.
I'm just going to,
yes.
To amplify what you're saying.
Yes.
In the past, one has suggested, some people have suggested that, look, why don't we get these elements, these individuals so involved? Because they have a technology. No matter how crude or local that technology is, but they're able to refine fuel.
Yes. Yes, what happens is, with this committee, it was seen that it was possible to upgrade what they are doing. And in upgrading it, you introduce those elements that are absent in what they are doing, and then you remove the aspect of their production that makes possible incomplete combustion. That will be done. Indeed, I must tell you, many people don't even know that Ahmadu Bello University has a refinery. Ahmadu Bello University. And then, of course, if you put these people together who have the knowledge, why do we have NASENI, National Agency for Science and Engineering in Nigeria? It's set up for a purpose. We have Ahmadu Bello University, we have Federal University of Petroleum Research, we have other agencies, we have PRODA. All these people put together, who says they cannot produce a mini refinery? It's not rocket science any longer, so they can. And if we have this, yes, in any program you can have what we call carrot and stick. For those who do not comply, who do not abide by what is set out as a target, you whip them. Those who are ready, you put them in place. And if we have this, whatever the gap is in the import of petroleum products that we make, they can fill in the gap. But that is not in the way they do it. Right now, they steal oil, they pollute our environment, they deprive government from revenue, and also give more problem to the Nigerian government by way of finding environmental solutions like remediation. But if we engage them in some other ways and we are able to do this, driving this technology that we are talking about, we will now make gain. They will no longer steal the oil. They will pay for it in whatever claim, whether through international pricing or whatever subsidy may be given to them. then you now have what is negative now will become positive. So it is something that is workable, and there are attempts towards doing that. If you just say every boy or every boy you have in the house is a bad boy, who is going to be the good boy? The bad boy in the house, try to see how you can reform him and make him productive. So I think that's one area that we need to look at. And this is being done now because Federal Ministry of Environment is focusing on this. We have been running after them for quite some time, and we have not got anything. So the ministry now says, okay, the SSA come up with a program. He has come to the ministry, he has made his presentation, and we have seen that there is an inroad into this and then stopping this arsenal refining, one, stopping pollution, so that we can have a holistic solution to whatever problem those we call illegal or artisanal refiners will now become normal refiners and not illegal refiners. I think that's what we need to do.
All right. It seems from what indications we are not running short of solutions here.
No.
There are so many things you can do in order to get, this black soot thing and some other illegal practices in the Niger Delta, harnessed for the betterment of the economy and for the betterment of Nigerians' willing. We'll now take a break, and when we come back, we'll dig deep into the health hazards, see the efforts of Rivers State government in trying to tackle this black soot issue, and then talk more about the abundance of solutions we have and how to really put them into practice. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Since coming into office in 2015, the Buhari administration has recorded unprecedented achievements in all sectors, especially in the provision of infrastructure, which is the key to economic growth. Never in the history of this country has any administration done so much with so little. Recall that when this administration came into office, the price of crude oil, which provides for 80% of Nigeria's budgetary revenues and 95% of foreign exchange earning, dropped drastically, thus reducing the amount of resources available to the federal government. In spite of this, the administration has continued apace with massive infrastructure developments.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who's a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
The Council of Our Fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
All right, thank you for staying with us up to this moment on Good Morning Nigeria. Of course, the topic has been the issue of black soot, which is circulating the entire environment in the Niger Delta, but more of that is being felt in Rivers State. Now, we're looking at solutions this time around and what can possibly be done. Nigeria has a chain of agencies in this country that should have the capacity to tackle a challenge of this magnitude. And I'd like to go to Professor Hilary Inyang, who has a very good exposure internationally with respect to issues like this. So we have some relevant agencies. Yes. In fact, Idris Musa also mentioned some of these agencies, you know, and how they can collaborate or synergize to perhaps see how we could factor in a solution to issues of this matter. Now, what do you think can be done, given what we already know about the agencies that are in existence in Nigeria?
I think my friend Dr. Musa has even mentioned it. There's the issue of synergy, which he just alluded to a few moments ago during the break. So synergy, that is when a problem like this, the soot, is identified, what are the various elements of it that can be addressed, and which agencies at all jurisdictional levels are responsible for them? Okay, you have at the state level. There's got to be some agencies that deal with health, that can issue advisories to citizens who live in certain areas. Maybe they know about the patterns of air movement and which sections of the town will be most vulnerable. So they've got to be involved. They can use radio, they can use television to announce this. They can send public health officials to go and warn people about this. That's one, as an example. And then you've got the national agencies that are responsible for solving these problems at a larger scale. So there's got to be some interactions. The health agencies, the environmental agencies, and the security agencies, as have been addressed by the director of NESRA and the director of NOSDRA, who have talked on this. So those are examples. Then one should not forget the academic and research institutions. In my own humble opinion, I think their utility to this country is very minimal. Mm-hmm. The research institutions and the academic institutions. Mm. And that can find exemplification in the COVID. How many Nigerian institutions have come out to explain what COVID is and how to address them to the general public? Have they come here to this NTA to explain things? Very few. To Mori.
Of course they have.
To Mori, and some of them. Yeah. But not to the extent that they should.
Just to aid you a little bit, and allow you to continue, is the fact that most of these research institutes you are talking about, they lack funds. That's number one. Number two is that even when they come up with the research results, no funds to begin to explore what have been able to unearth. For instance, if a research institute comes up with a research result, who will fund it to ensure that whatever result that they have can impact on the generality of the society? That's the problem that they have, because they have been on this program on several occasions to say, look, this is what we have on our shelves. We have so results, we have so research works that have been done. But how do you now bring these research results to the door of the manufacturing sector?
Okay, now you've identified the problem. Now let me say a few things about that. You have the National Research Agency, right? And which one is that? That is, what is it called? The Nigerian National Funding Agency for Research at Academic Institutions.
TED Fund?
TED Fund.
TED Fund.
You've got TED Fund. TETFund's budget, as I saw last time, is to be increased to about, is it 20 million US dollars and so forth. Like in every other country, I was Vice Chancellor in Southern Africa until recently, and I was Vice Chancellor here. It is the duty of academicians to write research proposals and compete. Let those ideas compete. Let them compete at TETFund. Let them compete in collaborative agreements with NOSDRA, with Ministry of Environment, with Department, DPR, and many of those to seek solutions to Nigeria's problems. And everywhere you have public intellectuals that take their work and seek collaborative agreements for implementation. If one waits only for politicians to do this, no country will advance. So it is also a moral obligation of the researchers who have these ideas to seek greater collaboration, a more expanded collaboration with the public agencies for dissemination and application of the research results. Every country moves up that way. And the the Federal Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation.
Well, what about the role of the private sector?
The private sector in Nigeria, unfortunately, because you see, there are two levels in the private sector. You have the major private sector organizations like a Mobile and a Shell. They should be having Shell Research Project program that solicits ideas from Nigerians to contribute in sectors such as this, like they do everywhere else. In the US, Mobile does it. Duke Energy occupied their chair. Where are the endowed chairs in Nigerian universities that will help address issues like this? There are very few of them, you see. So then you have small business innovative research, small businesses. Now, those small businesses, there's got to be tax breaks for them to be able to do things like this, to support such initiatives, because you can't tax them much of their profit, and they will not have the excess money that they can use to support initiatives like this. Yes, this can be done by the Nigerian Federal Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, because that's the leading light for Nigeria's technological and socio-economic growth.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Ian. Professor Aliyu Joro, the issue here is still finding solutions to this problem. And looking at Nigeria's status and position on climate change, we are a signatory to almost all global climate change agreements. And of course, recently, we were part of the climate change conference. And that's zero emission, 0% emission of, gas has been there on the table, and countries have signed to that. We're still talking about black soot today, which is a major contributor to these climate change issues. In your own opinion, do you see us really implementing these agreements, against the background of the fact that what is happening in River State specifically and the Niger Delta generally is, in a way of taking us back or away from meeting our targets as a country?
Yes, as you have said, we have discussed the sources of this pollution, especially the Niger Delta, the soot. Dr. Idris Musa mentioned that for you to tackle a problem, the first thing you do is to identify the cause of the problem. So we all know this source of this problem. So it's not difficult for us to tackle it. We just need to synergize, as we have agreed. Prof mentioned also the need for this synergy. So when we come together and we tackle these issues, we stop these illegal refineries, and we offer solutions to most of these youths by bringing them together to offer them the opportunity of coming up with a modular refinery, as mentioned. So we are going to reduce this issue of soot. So this soot, whenever it's formed, the process, as we have mentioned, is the burning of this fossil fuel. So when it is burned, the pollutants contained in it are many, because crude oil contains millions of compounds. One of the major pollutants in the soot include the heavy metals. especially we have lead, we have cadmium. Most of them are carcinogens. And apart from that, we also have some aromatic hydrocarbons which are known to be carcinogens. So apart from that, we also have emission of the carbon dioxide, which is the major culprit. We have emission of ozone, which is also a greenhouse gas. So for us to meet off with our commitment for the cutting down of this emission in order to reduce the temperature, there is need for us to ensure that we stop all these illegal activities. And one of the major contributors which Nigeria is committed to attacking and solving is the gas flaring. Dr. Musa mentioned that. So during the COP26 in Glasgow, one of the major solutions Nigeria thinks it will adopt in order to cut down its emission is reducing this gas flaring. And Nigeria is committed to that. So I think it's something that can be done.
All right. Thank you, Prof. Well, we have just been joined by Professor Vincent Welly. We've been trying to get him connected via Zoom all this while. Professor Vincent Welly is a professor of climate science and from the Department of Geography and Environmental Management, University of Port Harcourt. We have indeed gone deep into this conversation, but we are still very glad to have connected you successfully via Zoom. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. In fact, I've been wondering if I'll be part of this program.
Well, you are now part of it. I wouldn't know whether you were listening to other guests, all that while, because they have touched on very vital, points concerning what is happening in Rivers State. And you are right there in Rivers State. Let us know what the situation is like and what you think, could be the causative factors and how we can battle with the challenge.
Yeah, thank you very much. The situation here is a very serious one. On Saturday, we had black rainfall. Rain fell on Saturday and the water was black. So that black substance, of course, mixing with water forms a weak carbonic acid that is capable of causing to corroding metal surfaces and affecting our farmlands and also polluting the surface waters because that is acid rain, that we'll be hearing about. And throughout this season, throughout the wet season, the dry season, of course, we have had several rains. In fact, as I speak to you, we do not understand which one is wet season and dry season anymore. Because the soot that is being emitted to the atmosphere, some persons prefer to call it black soot, but soot is soot because it's already black. So permit me to use soot, in this discussion. So, this soot that is being emitted to the atmosphere, we have discussed this in several fora. The illegal refining activities along the creeks and the forests around the Port Harcourt, River State, and the entire Nigeria region has contributed immensely to the concentration of, carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, amongst other pollutants that are being emitted, because it is illegal to the extent that they are using rudimentary technology in trying to refine PMS, trying to refine diesel and kerosene. These are the only three derivatives they're able to carry out. Why crude oil has about 450 derivatives, or about 400 derivatives. And so it means that about 397 are being bumped into the atmosphere, illegally. And so this is what constitutes the soot. So there are several compounds in the crude oil that is part of the soot, and a lot of them are aromatic hydrocarbons, the olefins, the the 18, the alkyne, the alkanes, and all of that. They are aromatic hydrocarbons. And a lot of them are carcinogens that are being emitted to the atmosphere. As I speak to you, we are having NASA congestion here in Port Harcourt. You can feel the way I'm talking. It tells you that I'm most affected. We have NASA congestion, so people are now smoking the soot because people are breathing through their mouth as I speak with you. So we're not talking of inhaling again. In fact, we are inhaling and at the same time smoking it through our mouths. And it's a very serious incident we have here because all these are compromising our lungs and all of that. I would have said in Zimbabwe that the adults are highly vulnerable and the children are highly vulnerable because their systems are very weak, to be able to withstand all of this. And those who are already active, the implication is that in no distant time, there will be indication of respiratory tract infectious diseases and all of that. That is this condition we have. And recently, 2 or 3 days back, the governor has declared some campaigns wanted for illegal refining activities. We are happy that he has done something now. We're happy that he has been able to muster the political will to track these campaigns and all of that. But that is not the end of the story. The point is that there are also several other petrochemical industries here in Port Harcourt that are also being accused of also emitting substances that also compromise air quality. We want him to launch a study to fish out these companies who we suspect are also compromising the air quality. So that at the end of the day, we are going to have a holistic eradication of this menace.
Professor Vincent, let me hang on to you a little bit. We have maybe there about 4 or 5 minutes remaining on this program, but we'll give you 2 of the minutes anyway, to just look at or give us, it seems like there is an emergency situation in Port Harcourt or River State. The black rain, the smoking of this, soot, and, the near absence of good air in Port Harcourt, for instance, it's worrisome. What, in your opinion, should the people do in the meantime as a short-term measure, I would say, in trying to, acclimatize or, move on with this situation before something drastic or something big happens that will just solve it once and for all?
Yeah, I have said that the River State government should declare a state of emergency on air quality in the state of Port Harcourt. That should be done immediately. The people should wear nose masks. Of course, we know that it's not very comfortable, but that's what we must do now, to wear our face masks anywhere we are going to. And we must ensure that our doors and windows are closed, because our properties in our houses are also being affected. The floor is being affected by soot. Our clothes are being affected indoor. Our equipment, gadgets, electronic gadgets are also being affected. Anything that has, is a metal substance is being affected. Surface is being affected. Our curtains are black. The ceiling is black, and all of that. So one thing we can do is to ensure that our doors and windows are locked at all times. While at any time we are outside, we should wear our nose masks and do not expose our body, to the vagaries of weather. Because as I speak to you, many people are reporting, itching of their skin, arising from, especially when they come in contact with this compromised air. And of course, when you come out in the morning, you will actually see, dew mixed with, the soot, and that is very dangerous. So, and when they come in contact with your skin, of course, you will develop itchy skin at the end of the day. So people should cover their bodies. This is not the time to expose our body and all of that.
All right. Thank you very much indeed for keeping us up to date with the situation in Port Harcourt. I just hope that the government could have a way of sensitizing the people for them to know what to do to stay safe. Right? He talked about face mask or something. Perhaps there could be more measures to do. Idris Musa, finally, what is your final thought on this matter?
Well, my final thought on this matter is that having identified the major part of the problem, we should now begin to see how we can solve it. And we have provided solutions to this by saying that those who engage in this, let's find alternative means of livelihood for them. And you know, this is also entrenched in the United Nations Environmental Assessment Study of Goriland, the report. It identified these artisanal refiners, and it did say, provide alternative source of livelihood for this group of people. And of course, if that's for those from that side are taken care of, other areas will also be taken care of in a way.
Okay, thank you so very much. At least you are within your 30 seconds.
Yes.
We thank you so much, Idris Musa, Director General, National Oil Spill and Detection Response Agency. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Professor Ali Ujero, Director General, National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency. We thank you so much for being part of Good Morning Nigeria today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Professor Hilary Yang, Professor of Environmental Engineering and then Science. He's also Director Global Institute Energy and Environmental Systems of the Carolina Charlotte in the United States of America. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
And finally, Professor Vincent Wale, a Professor of Climate Science from the Department of Geography and Environmental Management, University of Port Harcourt. Thank you so much for being part of this program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. We'll have much more time next time, really. And Good Morning Nigeria continues in a while with sports.
Nigeria Super Eagles and the Pharaohs of Egypt will face off today at 5 p.m. as both sides aim to begin their 2021 Africa Cup of Nations on a positive note.
It's not going to be an easy game against Egypt. We've got a lot of good players, but we are fully ready.
Nigeria will be without top scorer in the qualifiers, Victor Osimhen, Watford forward Emmanuel Dennis, and 2029 AFCON top scorer Odoni Gallo, while Egypt will not have Mohamed Abogaba and Ibrahim Adal available after both tested positive for COVID-19. Super Eagles, who finished third at the 2019 edition of the Football Showpiece in Africa, will be seeking their fourth title and an opening day victory, while the Pharaohs will look to conquer the continent for a record extending its time. Meanwhile, Aaron Pupenza's strike sealed a 1-0 win for Gabon over Africa Cup of Nations debutants in their opening Group C clash on Monday. Gabon, who were missing their talisman Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and influential midfielder Mario Lamina due to COVID-19 infections, never looked trouble and scored one of the only few shots on target. Gabon moved joint top of the pool with Morocco, who got their AFCON 2021 campaign off to the best start after Tofani Bouva's late strike and then a 1-0 win over Ghana.
Well, that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. We thank you for watching. Hope to see you again tomorrow when we bring you a fresh edition of the morning show. My name is Kirian Umayo. Do have a great day.
And of course, I'm Yusuf Nadabo. Usman Kirian. Nigeria is playing the Pharaohs today. The Eagles and the Pharaohs are locking horns later in the day.
At 5 p.m. I mean, Nigerians are scared of the Pharaohs of Egypt because of Salah.
There shouldn't be, at least we're expecting a win from that match because that's going to be our first match for the game this very season.
We don't lose that match. If you lose that match, it's going to be a very serious match.
Well, do have a great day. Good Morning Nigeria continues tomorrow. See you.
NTA. You can't beat the rich.
The vaccine offers hope for a safe country free of coronavirus. I urge all state governments, traditional and religious leaders to take the lead in the mobilization effort within their environment and spheres of influence. I similarly urge all eligible Nigerians to present themselves and be vaccinated in accordance with the order of priority already mapped out at the various authorized designated centers only.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Welcome to the world's first football scouting reality show, Football Dreams. We kicked off an extensive scouting selection for football talents in 2019. And together with our African Football Network, we've evaluated over 3,000 players from 13 countries. They all share the same